The human, Ethan, stepped cautiously into the alien village. The tiny aliens, barely half his height, crowded around, chattering in their high-pitched voices. Their village shimmered with bioluminescent lights, glowing softly in the twilight. Ethan's mission was simple, or so he thought: help repair a critical device that could save their dying energy source. The device, a small metallic sphere with dozens of delicate openings and rotating parts, was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. It was so intricate that even the smallest mistake could damage it irreparably. The tiny aliens had tried to fix it for days, but their tools were too small, and their tiny hands lacked the strength needed for the stubborn mechanism. Ethan knelt carefully, examining the device. He held a multi-tool in his hand and glanced at the tiny alien leader, Lyra, who nodded anxiously. The moment he inserted the tool into one of the narrow openings, the device clicked, then locked, refusing to move. Ethan frowned. He tried twisting, pushing, and pulling, but it was stuck. The aliens gasped, their small bodies vibrating with worry. "No human has ever tried this," Lyra squeaked. "You must be careful. If it breaks, our entire energy source is lost." Ethan smiled gently to calm them. "I won't break it. I just need to figure out the right angle." He studied the device carefully, noticing tiny markings around the opening. "Ah, these symbols," he murmured. Slowly, he aligned his tool with the markings. The tiny aliens leaned closer, watching every movement. Hours passed. The human adjusted the tool, rotated it with precision, and finally felt a subtle shift. The device released slightly. Then another twist, and it clicked again, this time unlocking smoothly. The tiny aliens erupted in cheers, jumping and spinning in delight. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. Sometimes all it takes is patience and observation. Lyra floated closer, her glowing wings fluttering. "You have done something no alien could," she said. "You see what we cannot. You are extraordinary." The device hummed to life, projecting a small beam of energy into the sky. Ethan marveled at the sight. "This will power your village again," he said proudly. But the celebration was short-lived. The device began to vibrate violently, spinning in ways it shouldn't. Ethan quickly grabbed it to steady it, but another small opening revealed a hidden complication. Tiny gears inside were jammed. He realized this was only the first of several challenges. The aliens looked at him with wide eyes. "Can you fix it?" Lyra asked. Ethan nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. "Yes, I'll get it done." The next hours were tense. Ethan worked carefully, learning the alien technology as he went. He communicated with Lyra and her team, understanding how the device interacted with their energy systems. Slowly, piece by piece, he freed the gears, aligned the tiny components, and brought the device to a stable state. By the end of the night, the device hummed perfectly. The aliens cheered, lifting Ethan up on their tiny shoulders. "You are not just a human," Lyra said with a smile. "You are our savior." Ethan felt proud, but exhausted. As he rested, he looked at the alien sky, stars reflecting in the bioluminescent lights of the village. He realized this mission was just the beginning. Their technology was advanced, their world fragile, and his skills as a human engineer could make the difference between survival and disaster. Just as he was about to rest, Lyra whispered urgently, "There is more. Another device, larger and more complex beyond the forest. If it fails, our energy will collapse entirely." Ethan looked toward the distant trees, where faint lights pulsed. He nodded. "Then we move at first light. I'll fix it too." The night passed quietly, but Ethan knew the next challenge would test every skill he had. The aliens trusted him, their tiny hope resting on a human's hands, and for the first time in his life, he felt the weight and honor of being needed. The morning light filtered through the glowing forest canopy, casting soft patterns on the ground. Ethan rose early, determined and ready. The tiny aliens buzzed around him, their wings shimmering like sunlight on water. Lyra approached, holding a map of their village and the location of the second device. "This device is much bigger," she explained, her voice serious. "It controls the main energy grid of our world. If it fails, the village and nearby habitats will be left powerless." Ethan nodded. "Then we must be careful. I'll need to see every part before I touch anything." The journey to the device was more challenging than Ethan expected. The forest was dense, filled with twisting vines and bioluminescent plants that glowed softly in every color. Tiny streams crisscrossed the path, and the forest floor was uneven, making each step careful and deliberate. The tiny aliens moved with ease, floating above the ground or hopping lightly between the rocks. Ethan struggled to keep up, carrying his toolkit and the portable scanner that would help him analyze the alien machinery. Finally, they arrived at a clearing. In the center stood the device. It was enormous compared to the first one, almost 3 meters tall, with hundreds of interlocking panels, rotating gears, and narrow openings. Energy pulses ran along its surface, lighting up strange symbols that seemed to shift as Ethan watched. The tiny aliens gathered around, their wings fluttering nervously. "It has been malfunctioning for days," Lyra said. "We have not been able to understand it. The patterns are unpredictable." Ethan examined the device carefully. He noticed that each panel had tiny inscriptions, similar to the first device but far more complex. "I'll need to map all the moving parts first," he said. "We cannot rush this." Hours passed as Ethan carefully studied the device. He inserted his scanner into one of the small openings, sending holographic images to his portable screen. The aliens hovered close, curious and anxious. Slowly, Ethan began to understand the pattern. "The device reacts to pressure and timing," he explained. "If I apply force in the wrong order, it could jam completely." He began working with extreme precision, using his multi-tool to manipulate small gears, aligning panels, and freeing stuck components. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he focused, but he remained calm, determined not to make a mistake. Suddenly, a loud grinding noise echoed from the device. Ethan froze. One of the larger panels had shifted unexpectedly, blocking a critical mechanism. The tiny aliens gasped. "It's stuck!" Lyra cried. Ethan took a deep breath and examined the problem. "I can fix it," he said calmly, "but it will require coordination." He instructed the tiny aliens to push, lift, and rotate specific panels in sequence while he worked inside the opening with his tool. For the next hour, they worked together, communicating with clicks, chirps, and gestures as Ethan guided them. Slowly, the panel shifted into place, freeing the mechanism. The device hummed softly, but Ethan knew it was not fully operational yet. Inside, tiny gears and circuits still needed alignment. He studied the inscriptions carefully, comparing them to the first device. "It's like a musical instrument," he muttered. "Each part must move in harmony. If one is off, the whole system fails." Hours turned into the afternoon as Ethan continued. He rotated gears, adjusted panels, and carefully aligned tiny components, all while the aliens watched in awe. Finally, he reached the central mechanism. It was the most delicate part, a tiny lattice of rotating energy conductors. One wrong move could destroy everything. Ethan worked slowly, his hands steady. He rotated one conductor, then another, adjusting angles and spacing. The lattice began to vibrate with energy, but it was stable. The tiny aliens cheered softly, holding their breath as he made the final adjustment. With a decisive click, the device came alive. Energy pulsed through the panels, casting beams of light into the sky. The forest around them glowed brightly as power returned to the village and surrounding habitats. The tiny aliens erupted in celebration, flying in circles, chirping and hugging one another. Ethan stepped back, exhausted but satisfied. Lyra floated up to him, her eyes shining. "You did it," she said softly. "You have saved our world. We thought no one could fix it, but you understood it in a way none of us could." Ethan smiled, looking around at the glowing forest and the happy aliens. "Sometimes you just need patience and observation," he said, "and a little courage to try." The celebration continued late into the evening. Ethan watched as the aliens danced and sang around the restored device. He felt proud, but also aware that their world was fragile, and that the trust they had given him was a gift. Lyra approached him again, her wings glowing faintly in the twilight. "There is one more thing," she said. "The energy devices are connected. If we do not understand the final calibration, the system could fail again. You may be the only one who can do it." Ethan nodded. "Then we will prepare. I will learn everything I can about your systems. Together, we can make sure your world stays safe." For the first time, he realized that being human, with his curiosity, patience, and problem-solving skills, gave him a unique strength. The tiny aliens had their world, their culture, and their abilities. But sometimes, it took a human mind to see the solution clearly. As night fell, Ethan looked at the stars above the glowing forest. He knew there would be more challenges ahead. Alien worlds were complex, and their survival depended on courage, trust, and teamwork. And now, he had both. Lyra hovered beside him, her eyes bright. "You are more than a helper," she said. "You are a hero in our world, and perhaps a friend for life." Ethan smiled, feeling the warmth of their trust. He knew that this adventure had changed him too. He was no longer just a human engineer. He was a part of something bigger, a force that could help worlds survive. And in that quiet, glowing forest, with the tiny aliens celebrating around him, he understood that heroism came in many forms, not just in strength or size, but in courage, patience, and the willingness to try when others could not. The next morning, as Ethan prepared to continue his work with the aliens, he felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. He was ready for the next challenge, ready to learn more, and ready to show that humans, even on distant worlds, could make a difference. And as the first beams of sunlight danced on the forest floor, he knew this was only the beginning of a partnership that could change the fate of the alien world forever.